unless you get to know that person, you know, you've no chance. There's a saying, you know, how many times have I told you this? Well, if you've told them that many times, you need to find a different way of delivering the message. I worked with one player in particular who just couldn't understand one aspect of the game, and I was getting extremely frustrated. And I had a really good assistant coach he's an educator, and he said, "This is on us, not on her, because why do you keep, like, you're throwing stuff at a brick wall here?" He said, "It's not going in." So we sat down and we chatted with her about, you know, what worked for her, and we put things into video for her that we were able to just diagram for other people or run through on the pitch, and it made a difference, you know. But I spent 6 months banging my head against the brick wall, blaming her, when in fact, in retrospect, I probably knew 2 months in it wasn't going in, and I should have looked at a different way. You can't impose what you want on them. You need to be delivering what they want. I think one of the biggest things to understand is, I hear coaches talk about my team or my players. That's not the relationship. The relationship is you're their coach. You work for them, not the other way around. Okay? And we tend to think, well, they're my team and they'll do this. Well, actually, no, you're their coach. You need to make them better. Now, sometimes they don't know what's best for them. Okay? And it might be that they think that A is the solution, and you know it's not. Your job's to convince them or persuade them that B is the solution. But certainly, finding out what that player needs is the first step towards making them better. I think a poor learning environment is where people are scared to make mistakes. And when people are scared to make mistakes, there'll be no progress, because mistakes are necessary for learning. I describe sort of the journey towards competence or expertise in something as a sequence of mistakes that become further apart and less dramatic, but they're still there. Even the best people in any field make mistakes from time to time. If, as an educator, you take away the person's willingness to make mistakes, then you take away their ability to learn. If you have the ability to self-reflect, so if you imagine a mistake's running into a brick wall, some people I've experienced will jump up and blame the wall, and they're never getting any better. It's when you make a mistake, if you have the ability to look at yourself and say, what did I do wrong? Not blame other people, not blame situations. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better here? Then those mistakes will become further apart and less dramatic. But if you keep blaming the wall, you're never getting any better. Coaching's a constant. You're never switched off. Okay, so you might be driving, you might hear something on the radio, and you go, "Well, that's interesting. I might, you know," and you might apply it to coaching. So coaching's a constant. Self-reflection should be this constant thing. And sometimes success is the worst thing that can happen to a coach, because it leads you not to self-reflect. You think, well, things are going great. And that's probably the best time to self-reflect. And self-reflection is not just what went wrong, it's identifying the things that you did well that led to success. And I think that a lot of people can be down on themselves via self-reflection. But it's an absolutely vital skill, okay, that coaches need to understand. And again, it's not something we spend enough time on in coach education. But it's the route to improvement, and success can mask faults. So certainly I had an incident. I used to have big issues with umpires when I was on the sideline. From your smirk, maybe you do as well. But it was, and I blame them. Okay. It's only when I realised that it was my fault. You know, I had one incident where I was ashamed of myself. Okay. And I realised it was my fault and it was counterproductive to what I was trying to achieve. That took me 2 or 3 years to go through, and to go through a lot of pain. But it was necessary. And that was a brick wall for me where time and time again I blamed the wall. And then only when that realisation came on that actually this is my fault, this is about me, was I able to move past it. So. Don't assume that they all want to, okay, or need to, is the first thing. Because some people, self-reflection can be quite negative because they only look at the negative things and they start to pile dirt on themselves, you know, when in fact you like, I've worked with players, and I'm sure you have, who do 95% of things really well in a game, and then they'll be stressing about the 5% of things that they didn't do well in the game, and it will start to deteriorate from there. I think that giving them opportunity via video, by giving them opportunity by just little questions at training, little one-on-one conversations with them, allows them the ability to self-reflect if they want to. I still think that that's your job as the coach. I think that they play a part in it by the best coach educators are the players. So if they're not getting better, you're doing something wrong as a coach. So there's your first sign. So that's how they basically tell you that things need to change, because they're not getting better. But I still think it's your job as a coach to create that learning environment. We mustn't get away from player-led coaching, teaching our players to become coaches. I think that we can sometimes go too far down that route with player-led coaching, whereby the players are coming out of it with a lot more coaching knowledge, but haven't improved as players. They're still players. Okay? And player-led coaching means sometimes the players lead us to change things. But you know, I believe in player empowerment, but to a certain extent, I still think you're the coach. You're the one who sets up the framework of the way the team plays, which will be dictated by their abilities. But ultimately, you're the person who sets up the framework. You're the one who designs the sessions that get them to play in that style. I think the top tip for any coach, or any young coach, is to coach as much as they can and coach as wide a range of people as they can. I think, at the risk of sounding like a grumpy old man, the biggest mistake younger coaches make is they want to go straight in at a certain level. They see themselves as coaching at this level, and there's a snobbery about who they coach. Whereas by increasing the diversity of the people that you coach in age, gender, physical ability, what you're doing is you're increasing your exposure to different types of learning and what works for different people. And the more exposure you have to those different types of people and different types of environments will improve you as a coach when you eventually reach the level that you aspire to be at. So I think that younger coaches should be looking to coach as much and as a diverse range of people as possible, rather than just being focused on, well, this is the level I want to be at and I'm going to go there straight away. I think people are trying to jump into Formula 1 cars before they've mastered the go-kart.